In this video, we're going to be making some beef jerky. Okay. Now, when making beef jerky, you can pretty much use almost any meat that you want, but you want to make sure that it has not a whole lot of fat in it. Okay, the fat eventually can go rancid. So the less fat that you have in it, the better. But if you're planning on eating it within like 24 hours, 48, you're good. You don't want to spend a lot of money on like really good meat. So something like this is going to work out just fine. I had made some cowboy style jerky for work and added a few things to it, and some of the people that I gave it to really liked it, and they asked for like the recipe, so I figured I'd just do a video on how to do it. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get rid of this extra membrane as well as any extra fat. Okay, this right here is good enough. A little bit of fat's not going to hurt. A lot of that's going to render out when we end up dehydrating it and or smoking it. In this particular case, I'm going to be smoking it in a smoker because it's just so much better if you do it that way. But if you don't have a smoker, you can add a little bit of liquid smoke and then throw it in a food dehydrator or an oven and get a similar result. Now, you're going to notice that if I pull on this, you're going to see that there's fibers, the way that the muscle kind of grows. We want to cut this way. Okay, we don't want to cut this way. We want to cut this way because that'll make it where it's a little bit more tender of a piece of jerky. We can go through with a knife if we want and cut out the pieces the size that we want this direction. And just keep in mind, it's all going to shrink a lot. It's going to shrink a lot. And so, you know, you'd cut something that might be a little bit, maybe 3/16 of an inch or something like that. Cut them, you're good to go. Okay. You can also cut them a little bit larger, but then it's not going to dehydrate it as much. And it can also be a little chewy. So what we're going to do on this one is I'm going to end up actually using an old tool of mine that I had bought years ago that I haven't got a lot of use out of it lately, but we're going to get some use out of it. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to get rid of some of this fat right here. So we're basically dealing with something about that thickness. So at this point, that's probably good. The little pieces, we can actually make what's known as jerky stuff. When I was a kid, we used to have jerky stuff. It used to come in a little container that looked like chewing tobacco. So this is what we have for the beef here. And if you're having problems cutting it, what you can do is you can put it in the freezer for a while to let it kind of stiffen up, and it'll cut a lot easier. I don't really have the time nor the desire to do such a thing. But you can see that we have some pieces that are kind of chunky at the end, which is fine because this is going to shrink considerably, but the vast majority of this is going to end up being real thin. So now what we have to do is we have to make a marinade, and then also the marinade, depending on how thick it is, it's going to end up changing how long you need to keep it in the marinade because it won't be able to penetrate. If it's thin, it'll penetrate really quick. And for this amount of meat, I'm going to put maybe about 1/4 cup of soy sauce. I am going to put a little salt in here, but not a lot. I'm going to put about 1/4 cup of brown sugar. And of course you can always add more if you want your beef jerky to be a little sweeter. A couple of tablespoons of molasses. This is mesquite honey from Arizona. I'm going to put a couple of tablespoons of that in here. This is a red chili flake, crushed red chili flake. I'll put about that much because I want this to be spicy. I have a orange mango juice I'm actually going to end up putting inside here. Scratch that mango pineapple, this one. That will give us a little bit of acid that we need. You can also put lime juice or whatever. You kind of mix this up a little bit here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the meat and put it in here. I'm going to stir that up. And then I'm going to end up taking this meat out because this is going to be mine. This is granulated onion. This is not onion salt. This is granulated onion. We want to put some of that in here. Garlic powder. Same thing, garlic powder, not garlic salt. Put that in there. Black pepper. I'm going to put a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. A little goes a long way, so we don't have to put too much. And other things that you can put inside here are things like ginger, whatever. And then I'm going to add one more thing to this because this is a pineapple mango, and I'm going to be adding some spiced rum. Maybe something like that. We're going to mix this all up and we're going to put it inside the fridge for at least 4 hours. Then that should give it enough time for this to marinate. And then during the time that that's going on, I can prep my smoker because I'm going to be using a smoker. But if you don't have a smoker, you can put a little bit of liquid smoke in this and then just dehydrate this inside the oven or a food dehydrator. But that smells incredible. Cover this and put it in the fridge for about 4 hours. Even up to overnight would work. Okay, it is time for us to start putting the meat on the grill pieces here. And if you're going to have different flavors of beef jerky, obviously you'd put the ones on top that you don't want to develop the flavor of the ones that are below it, right? So if you have something that's got a lot of spice and you don't want it to get on the other beef jerky, obviously that's the one that you put on the lowest grate, right? In this particular case, there's no salt. In this particular case, there's no pepper, onion, or garlic on these because those are 3 things that I personally cannot have. So this is going to go on the very top rack, and I don't have to worry about cross-contamination. So this one can go on the top rack of my smoker. And then this marinade you can actually reuse, right? So as soon as you're done with this, if you have more meat that you want to put in here, you can, and you're going to be good to go. So, ooh, this one smells good. This smells like just like a great marinade for any type of meat that you'd put on the grill. This smells so good right here. Now, ordinarily in a smoker, you'd put water in here to keep the moisture up, but what we want to do is we want to dehydrate. We don't want to keep it moist. So I'm not putting anything inside there. I'm actually going to end up removing this completely. So we've got this here, and I can always add more smoke later on down the line, but I suspect that this will probably be enough. I'm going to keep this on a low flame. I'm going to come out here in 15 minutes to look at the temperature. And I want to keep this right around 160 to 200 degrees. I don't want to go much higher than that. Keeping it between 160 and 200 is going to make sure that I know I'm killing anything that's on there, any salmonella, any type of foodborne pathogen is going to die. But at the same time, I'm not going to end up overcooking this because we want to dehydrate it. We don't want this to become overly cooked. So I'm going to keep it on low, come out in 15 minutes, adjust the temperature accordingly. If you're doing this in an oven, just set it to about 160. Put some aluminum foil on the very bottom of the rack of the oven, and same thing. You know, you just set it inside the oven for a while. You can also open the door to the oven ever so slightly, where it's maybe only open like a ½ of an inch. That will help get that extra moisture out of there. Okay, so let's come back in 30 minutes. We'll check that. If everything is kosher, then I'm just going to let this continue for probably about 4 hours, maybe 6 hours. I'll know because when I come out, it's going to be beef jerky. It'll be done. It'll be beef jerky. Okay, so our jerky is done. This one has the garlic, onion, black pepper. This one doesn't. This one right here, I've added more spice to it, which was the Korean hot pepper powder that I put in there. This one's mine. This one's for everybody else. But you can see how much jerky I was able to make with 2 pounds of meat. Okay, and then you can pretty much add whatever you want in order to increase the flavor. You can end up marinating it longer to let that stuff really absorb into the meat. It's up to you. But that's how you go about doing it, guys. Anyway, until next time, talk to you later.